Okay, I'm John Maloney, and some of you may know me. I was the lead developer for Scratch for 11 years from the beginning and you saw one of the really early versions. For the last year and a half or so, I've been working with Jens, who's here somewhere, and Yoshiki. Jens and Yoshiki's somewhere. There. Yes, oh, he's hiding. Okay. On a new language, which is sort of inspired by Scratch. It's called GP. And GP stands for an extensible, portable, general-purpose blocks programming language for casual programmers. So let's sort of look and see what some of those things mean. I guess the first question is, who's it for? So what do I mean by a casual programmer? Well, I have this idea that there's a lot of people out there, not just children, but adults as well, who would program if they only had the right tool. And Scratch actually is the right tool. But you can't program necessarily about the things that you're interested in if you're, let's say, an astrophysicist and you want to program your telescope to take readings, or you're a biochemist and you want to do some kind of analysis of some data. But you actually have the idea, you have the domain knowledge, it's just that you don't have time to learn Java or JavaScript or C or some difficult language like that, but you actually know the algorithms you would write if you could write them. So I think there's a place in the world for a Scratch-like language for serious adult work. For adults, instead of sort of necessarily wanting to express themselves artistically, they actually want to express themselves in useful apps, and you want to be able to distribute your things or create things that you and your colleagues or your friends can use on devices like laptops and cell phones, as if it was an app that was just built right in or from the App Store. And the target range, I imagine, is ages 13 to adult. So let's see, a general purpose. Well, by that I mean it's actually sort of hard to define, like, what's it good for when people ask you that about something that's general purpose. Well, it's good for anything. What's a Swiss Army knife good for? Well, you can open bottles and you can cut things. So, like Python, I think we're trying to make a language that can be used for sort of all kinds of different things. That means also that it should be able to connect up to things, so it should be able to connect up to hardware devices, or integrate with C libraries to do, let's say, image recognition and stuff, or databases. And again, as I said before, you ought to be able to deploy your stuff as applications. Another important thing about it is that it's extensible. So one of the things we discovered with Scratch was about 2010 or so. Various people discovered that thing that Bert just showed, where you can go in to Scratch and you can actually look at the source code, which is written in Smalltalk. It actually doesn't have any of the comments that would make it easy to understand the code. It wasn't intended for people to modify, at least back in those days. And what some people discovered was that they could teach themselves Smalltalk and they could make these modified versions of Scratch, even though that wasn't ever expected or intended. In fact, there's actually over 80 different mods of Scratch. But out of the millions of Scratch users, only 80 people have sort of done that. We sort of started thinking, what would it be like if we planned for that kind of diving deeper into the system? So GP is designed to have blocks all the way down. The whole system is created out of blocks. There's also a module system that was created by Yoshiki, which would enable people to create extensions and share them without any possibility of the extensions interfering with each other. And so we eventually imagined creating a module repository, similar to like the package repositories for Python and Node.js and so forth, that would allow people to exchange and share their extensions. Okay, finally, an important thing is that it's portable. It already runs on Mac, Linux, and Windows. We have, Bert is actually working on a JavaScript version for us. We have an almost complete iOS version. It runs on the Raspberry Pi, and we plan to add Android later, and new things as they come along. That's all I really wanted to say kind of about GP. I'm hoping some people will come to our poster session and workshop, except for one thing, which is that this whole thing has actually been built in GP, so we've kind of built the application for showing the slides in GP. There's all the blocks. How much time do I have left?
16 seconds.
Okay, all right. So here's all the code for this, and you can see, just like in Scratch, you can sort of modify some stuff. So let's just make it sort of spin